Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, Strands of Grace. Thank you once again for tuning in. So today, I'm really excited for today's video. I actually got a really cool video suggestion on my Loving Past Race video. I'll put the screenshot right here and I'll also link it down below. That's also a really good video to watch. And someone commented and asked me to talk about my experience with going from being homeschooled to an HBCU, which is a historically Black college and university. And I thought that was a really good video. I had actually never thought about doing that before, but that was definitely an experience for me. So yeah, we're just gonna get right into the video.
My body is your tabernacle. Lord, move me where you will. My heart is a beating reflection of your kind and your patient nature.
So I apologize in advance for the loud noise. Like I said in my couple videos ago, me and my sister actually moved back into my parents' house, and my 4-year-old nephew actually lives here as well. So he's just a very loud, rambunctious little kid. So just bear with me. So going from being homeschooled to an HBCU was definitely a unique experience. So I'm just gonna start with just giving y'all a little background of how I was raised. To start off with, I was raised in a Christian household. My family actually went to a multicultural Pentecostal church growing up. So I was around a lot of different ethnic groups, but I was mostly around white people. So I had a lot of white influence in my life growing up. My parents weren't trying to do this on purpose. That's just the kind of church that we went to. So I was never around a bunch of Black people. I was mostly around white people, but there was also like a mix of people that I was around. Not only that, but when I was in 1st grade, my mom actually started homeschooling me and my siblings. So I was homeschooled from 1st through 8th grade. And then when I got to high school, I actually went to a high school called Early College, where I did high school and college at the same time. And it was a very, very small high school. There were probably like 60 kids in my program when I first got there. Eventually it grew to a little over 100 when all 4 grades started to fill up. It was a new program. So I would say that my parents weren't super strict, but I was pretty sheltered. I grew up in a very godly house. We weren't allowed to curse or anything like that. I remember when I went to high school and I heard a curse word, I was looking over my shoulder. Like I literally thought that somebody was going to get in trouble, that they were going to get penalized for something. As you can probably understand and imagine, going from homeschooled to a very small high school to then going to an HBCU, which is a totally different culture in general, was a huge culture shock. I remember when I was in 11th grade, actually, I heard a girl above me say that she wanted to go to a HBCU. I had no idea what that was. Nothing clicked in my mind at all. And my dad, he actually went to North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, also known as A&T, when he was in college. But I did not know that was an HBCU. I literally did not know what an HBCU was. And so I remember when I was a senior in high school, I was trying to think of like what college I wanted to go to. And I eventually settled on this very small college in the mountains of North Carolina. And there were 700 students and only 10% Black. So there were 70 students that were Black and 700 students. And I remember thinking that that was a little, kind of like a little, I don't want to say it's odd because there are a lot of colleges like that, but I remember thinking that that might not be something that I wanted to do, especially because, you know, as Black women, most of us are, you know, we think about, okay, how are we going to get our hair done? How am I going to get my braids done? Everything like that. And if I'm in a very small, like rural area, I might not have many options in even getting my hair done. And so although I really wanted to go to that college, I began to think about other options. And my dad actually suggested that I visit A&T, that I do a tour there. And so I was just like, okay, that's fine. At this point, I kind of knew about HBCUs. My dad had kind of explained it to me. And so I was just like, okay, like we'll see how it goes. And when I visited the campus of A&T, I actually fell in love with it. I fell in love with the campus. I fell in love with just all the people that I saw. And I was just like, okay, like this is the place that I want to go to. So I actually decided to go to A&T about 2 months before I started college. So it was a very last minute decision. And I was so excited. I had no idea what I was in for. I was just like, cool, I'm going to an HBCU. I'm going to a place that like, it's still really close to home, and it's a place that my dad actually went as well. I'll insert a picture of me sitting on a bench, happy as heck, in front of Haley Hall, my freshman dorm, my senior year of high school. And so when I got to A&T, it was a huge, huge culture shock. So first of all, I want to start off with the fact that I was like not exposed to rap culture, hip hop culture, anything like that. I just didn't really grow up around it. Like my siblings listened to it a little bit, but I would also always listen to pop music, country music, CCM, which is contemporary Christian music. I would listen to gospel. Not only was I not exposed to it like within my life, but also I wasn't exposed to it in terms of like, that was not something that I even chose to listen to. And so, first of all, anywhere you go on campus, somebody's playing some rap music, somebody's playing hip hop music. At all of the events, they're playing the latest rap music. I literally did not know what was going on. And not only would they play their latest rap music, but they would end a lot of the events with Never Would Have Made It by Marvin Sapp. Don't ask me why. So it was interesting because A&T specifically, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is true for other HBCUs. It's very, of course, Black culture, Black saturated, but it also has an undertone of like Black church as well. There's also yes, I think there are people there, of course, who come from different backgrounds, who believe different things, but the Black church culture is also like, there's an undertone of that as well. So it was nothing to hear like an event end with a good gospel song or something like that. And so that was a lot for me to adjust to. Also, when I got to A&T, I did not know, okay, when I told people my name was Hannah, people would laugh. I'm telling you, they would laugh in my face, okay? And I did not understand that. Nobody had ever made a comment about my name my whole life up until the point where I got to the HBCU. And people literally laughed. Like they would tell me they had never met a Black woman named Hannah, a Black girl named Hannah at all. And I was shocked, but then I actually began to think back, and up until that point, I hadn't met a Black girl named Hannah either. And I probably only met 3 or 4 in my life up until the point of this video. Tons of Black people are named biblical names, but Hannah is just not a name that you typically hear when it comes to Black women. And so there was that aspect. And then there was the aspect that like, I literally did not know what was going on most of the time. Just like culturally, I just didn't know what was going on. And this is no fault of my parents. I just had a very different upbringing, and they didn't do this purposefully. It was just a matter of the place we went to church. It was a matter of me being homeschooled. It was a matter of the fact that in North Carolina, there aren't many Black homeschoolers. So I was just around a bunch of white people growing up. And so I don't want to say that I acted white. I don't think that I did. Maybe for some people, they maybe thought that I did, but there were just a lot of elements of Black culture that I literally just did not know. And at first, I found it just like hard to fit in. There were a lot of people who like accepted me and we clicked anyway, but just cultural wise, environment wise, it kind of felt like it was very hard for me to fit in at first. But I will say that with an HBCU, like I wouldn't encourage making like assumptions, or I wouldn't encourage generalizing everybody. Just like I had a different background, there were plenty other students who had different backgrounds. Not everybody is from the hood. Not everybody has a rough upbringing. You know, not everybody has that stereotypical Black upbringing. And that is actually very ignorant to assume that anyway. And so as I began meeting people who, you know, who they were rich. I began meeting people who were middle class. I began meeting people who did, you know, come from the hood. I began meeting people of just all different backgrounds. And I realized that even though you're in this Black culture setting, there is a melting pot of so many different people. And I will say that, like, there's not a lot of, like, yes, it's mostly Black people, but there were Hispanic people, there were white people, and it was just so cool to see like all of that kind of come together. And I would say that, you know, through my time there, even though it took me a while to adjust, I actually learned to like have an appreciation for who I actually am. I learned to have an appreciation for my Blackness. I learned to have an appreciation for the different shades that we come in, the different aspects of our culture, the different aspects of Black excellence, and how to be confident in yourself and move within a cultural and professional realm and still, you know, still be confident in who you are, still be confident in being totally Black and then pursuing your career. And so it was a very, very healthy experience for me to have. And then also having my background meet my rich cultural experience that I had in an HBCU was really healthy, because I had an appreciation for myself. I was fully aware of who I am as Hannah. Like, I am a Black woman who is a Christian, who is confident in who she is, who is confident in her skin, who is confident in her abilities. But I also have this background, and I also have these friends who do not look like me, and I wholeheartedly appreciate and respect their culture as well. And don't get me wrong, there is a side to the HBCU aspect that can sometimes just like not be healthy. Like, people can be so pro-Black that they can become egotistical, and that they can become too fixated on their Blackness to the point where they think that they're better than other people. And I never wanted to embrace that side, because I think that it's great. It is absolutely wonderful and beautiful to be proud of who you are. But when it comes to the point where you think that you're better than other people, or when it comes to the point where you think that the Black ethnic group is superior to other ethnic groups, then that is not okay. That is not the heart of God, and that is not how we should see ourselves and view ourselves in light of others. And so I will say that there is kind of that aspect to it as well that I feel like is very dangerous to embrace. But overall, it was a very, 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 very rich experience. I would not trade going to an HBCU for anything. I am Aggie pride till the day I die, okay? What's the saying? Aggie born, Aggie bred, and when I die, I'll be Aggie dead. Okay? So yeah, that was my experience when it came to transitioning to an HBCU. Stay tuned, because next week I am actually going to talk about staying grounded as a Christian in college. That's a whole nother thing in of itself, apart from being at an HBCU, because it can be very, very, very difficult if you are not around the right people. But I won't get into that. I won't get into that this video. So just stay tuned, and yeah. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.